The waiting is over. The World Cup of Motorsport has arrived. Brands Hatch, synonymous with motorsport first, is buzzing. Today it plays host to the global debut of A1 Grand Prix, the World Cup of Motorsport. So this is how it breaks down over the course of the next 2 days. 4 sessions of 50 minutes each. The aggregate of the team's 2 fastest lap times will decide the starting grid for the sprint race. Then Sunday from 1, we're live on Sky Sports 1 for race day. It all gets underway with a rolling start for the sprint race, the finishing order of which will determine the starting grid for the feature race, which follows. Good afternoon, welcome to Brands Hatch on this, the first ever A1 Grand Prix qualifying day. The weather has turned up, so too have the fans here in their droves to see the inaugural World Cup of Motorsport get underway. Teams and drivers gearing up for live qualifying, the first of the 4 sessions getting started in just under 15 minutes time. Well, joining me for the series is Andy Priaulx, BMW Formula 1 test driver and currently leading the World Touring Car Championship. Andy, is this what motorsport has been waiting for?
Absolutely. Drivers competing against each other on a level playing field. You can't ask for more. It's going to be a really competitive today. Qualifying is very important, so it's going to be very exciting.
Well, A1 is the brainchild of one man since placing the largest order in the history of motorsport with Lola International for 50 identical cars. Sheikh Maktoum hasn't looked back. He's been an ever-present all over the globe as each of the 25 represented countries have unveiled their cars, teams and drivers to the watching and waiting world. For everyone involved in A1GP, it's been quite a year.
There is a day where 25 national teams will be lining up on a grid on a track somewhere. And before the flags go down, you'll hear a man saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, for the pride of your nation, start your engines."
Well, that dream became a reality yesterday. The first opportunity for each of the 25 nations competing to take to the track and test out both drivers and cars on the circuit. This morning, incidentally, was the final practice session. Warm conditions for the practice session this morning. How will that have changed things from yesterday when it wasn't so good, Andy?
Well, absolutely. Changeable weather conditions. It's very warm today, which means the car setup's going to be completely different. Drivers are going to be hotter in the car, and of course the pressure is increasing now. We're moving into a qualifying session, and they want to perform well right at the end of the session, so lots of pressure.
Things not looking good for some of the teams yesterday. We just saw Austria and Matthias Lauda experiencing problems amongst a host of others. But how are Team GB and Team Ireland doing?
Doing great, very consistent. Robbie Kerr from Team GB has been quick in both practice sessions on Friday. Today he's struggling a little bit, but he must, he is working on a good setup for the race.
Well, that was practice. These are the scenes this afternoon. The pit lane open to the public, unprecedented access, meaning that the fans get to see their drivers right up close. That's a scene you wouldn't see in Formula 1, isn't it, Andy?
Absolutely there. John Surtees, World Formula 1 and motorbike champion. A very, very famous man getting very close to the action there, which is great to see.
certainly is. Well, every one of the 25 cars that lines up this weekend is identical, placing the emphasis on team and driver. The car doesn't just look good, it performs too. Andy takes you on a guided tour around the A1 car.
The A1 Grand Prix Series is the first opportunity in any area of motorsport for nations to compete on a level playing field. It is a series where technology has been deliberately equalised, so a country's performance is determined by teamwork and the driver's bravery, skill and excellence. Put very simply, these cars are identical. The concept of this series is that each A1 car is identical. All competing nations have been given 2 of these 520 brake horsepower cars for the 12-round series. Performance-wise, the A1GP car will be bone-shakingly fast. The engine will propel these cars at nearly 200 miles an hour. But one of the most exciting features of this car is that they are equipped with a power boost. At the push of a button, the driver can increase his engine performance by 30 brake horsepower. But, and here's the catch, it can only be used for a limited time during the race. The question for all teams and drivers is when to use this power boost. This remains to be seen. Another interesting aspect of the car is its aerodynamics. The rear aerodynamics features have been designed to aid overtaking by creating a larger hole in the air, which will make for easier slipstreaming. Parity between the cars is central to the ethos of the A1 series, and driver aids, gizmos and performance-enhancing devices are nowhere to be seen. These cars are physical and the drivers will be fighting tooth and nail to tame the power instantly at their disposal. The unique A1 Grand Prix car is ready to be unveiled to the world.
So that's the car. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, the rules explained and live qualifying. Going for Britain and pole position, Robbie Kerr and Alex Lloyd.
Name's Alex Lloyd. I'm going to be one of the 2 drivers driving for Great Britain in the A1 Grand Prix Championship.
Name is Robbie Kerr. I've been chosen to represent Team GBR in the A1 series, the new series for this season.
I'm looking forward to representing Great Britain actually. It's something in motorsport that never happens. It never has happened. You're always out for yourself and the team. Whereas now it's, you're representing Great Britain and that is the pinnacle.
I've got to focus on myself and doing the job first of all, which is go out there at Brands Hatch and get the car as high up the grid as possible and to win in front of the home crowd.
Welcome back to Brands Hatch. Qualifying is about to get underway. Now, come late Sunday afternoon, A1 Grand Prix will have its first race winner. Here's what each of the 25 countries represented have to go through over the course of the weekend to stake their claims for a place on the podium.
There are 4 15-minute qualifying sessions with a 10-minute break between each one.
Teams will complete 1 flying lap in each of the 4 sessions, and the aggregate of the 2 best times will determine the grid for the sprint race.
The sprint race is 18 laps or 30 minutes, whichever comes sooner. It will be a rolling start, and the results from the sprint race will determine the grid positions for the feature race.
Championship points are awarded to the top 10, and it's the same allocation of points in both the sprint and the feature race.
The feature race is a standing start and will be a 38-lap race.
It's compulsory during this race for each team to make a pit stop for wheel and tyre changes. Failure to do so will result in disqualification.
And when the red lights go out, the battle will begin and we will find out who will be victorious in the first A1 Grand Prix.
There's plenty riding on the qualifying, which is just seconds away. Let's join our commentary team of John Watson and Ben Edwards.
Yes, and this is where the role of the driver is not just the team, and there's a mistake, driver from Lebanon going over that yellow line. Now that will be picked out by the race director. All these drivers have got to be very, very aware of running within the rules and regulations, and exiting from pit lane there is a yellow line on the left hand side. You must not cross that, you must stay within the lines until they stop.
The country colours represented on all of the cars, of course. It's the yellow and green of Team Australia that we're watching first, and a driver in this car who does have experience of this Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit from racing in the British Formula 3 Championship. He does know the circuit, whereas many of the drivers here this weekend are new to its ups and downs and sweeping corners. Coming out of the pits there, Team Portugal, Alvaro Perez, but also out on track, Team Lebanon, as Bashir just begins to get up to speed.
Yes, and that experience is going to show up, I think, particularly in these first two rounds at Brands Hatch, because simply the more experience, the more track knowledge you've got, the easier it's going to be, particularly going into these qualifying sessions. Remember, now we're watching Will Power start his one flying lap in this 15-minute session. He's got pretty much a clear track. Good strategy by Team Australia to get their driver out, first car out on track, runs a little bit wide out of paddock bend and continues momentum.
Looking down now over the top of the hairpin at Druitt. It's a long corner, and then he comes back down the hill into a tight little left-hander, little 90-degree left at Graham Hill bend, and then along the back straight, the Cooper straight, towards the corner, interestingly enough, named after the team principal for the British team, John Surtees.
Yes, indeed. Just interestingly to see the time Will Power through that first sector as a benchmark for everybody else. It was 24.6 seconds. So keep that in mind, because that's going to be a target time for the remaining 24 cars.
Yes, now he goes through the fast sweeping corners on the back section of this track, and Team Australia determined to lay down the marker here. He was 6th fastest in the Friday free practice session. Let's see what he can do in qualifying. Remember, he only has this one flying lap in this 15-minute segment that we're into.
And he's got traffic ahead of him, so the car just ahead. Now that's not going to really come into play coming into Clearways corner, but fortunately for Will Power, he'll be able to sweep past it. In fact, it's not even going to be an issue. He'll complete his lap and comes across start finish line. Now let's see, 1 minute 15:05, 16:056.
So a 1 minute 16:056. It's not the fastest time that we've seen so far today. That was set by France this morning. Team France at a 1 minute 15.420. So he's a little outside the mark that was set in free practice, but it gives us the first target time, a 1:16.056. Mexico has crossed the line on a 1:17.6. Pakistan a little quicker. That was Team India, Karan Chanduk getting into a bit of a slide.
And that looked very exciting. We're going to see lots of that from these A1 chassis. They're not high downforce cars. We look at now Sean McIntosh, Team Canada. He's been impressive as well, racing, of course, in the UK in Renault Sport.
Yeah, Sean McIntosh making a big step up from the British Formula Renault Championship into this A1 Grand Prix car with 520 horsepower. They don't get to use their power boost button in qualifying. They save that for the races. They have opportunity to get extra power in the races. There's a slide through Paddock Hill Bend for Team Canada.
It's been very spectacular. The drop down from Paddock Hill Bend. You'll see the A1 chassis. The car moves around a lot on the track. These are not super sticky qualifying tyres. These are race tyres that have got to do the duration of the 38-lap race on Sunday afternoon.
Brand new tyres on for qualifying though, and they're hoping to get about a second a lap improvement by putting these new slicks on, and they are big rear slick tyres on these A1 racing cars, providing quite a lot of grip. It's a good hard compound though to be consistent at all the different circuits we'll be visiting over the course of the 12 race calendar.
So watching Sean McIntosh as he comes out of Hawthorne into this revised corner of Westfield Bend. Oh, and he's lost the car, and that is also trouble. Keep it out of the barrier. Good job by McIntosh in at least recovering well, but just shows you one single lap qualifying. If you get it wrong, well, he's down to 3. He's got 3 more chances now to get a time in to get him onto the grid as far up as forward on Sunday afternoon.
Let's take another look. What did he do wrong here, John?
On entry, I don't know whether he's got maybe a little bit too much downforce in the front of the car. The back end broke away very quickly. He was literally just at the apex. Once it was gone, it was into recovery. He kept the car out of the gravel trap. He kept it off the barrier, and well, that's just another. Now it's again nothing obvious. The car doesn't appear to be doing anything abnormal. Just the back end grip isn't there when he needed to lean on the rear of the car, and around she goes.
Red flag this session, so this session has been stopped and the clock has been stopped while we get that car recovered and make it back to the pits. Now, that was his opportunity for a flying lap in this session. So he's caused the red flag. I don't think he'll have another opportunity to put in another lap. So as you say, he'll have to depend on the other 3 15-minute segments. And remember, it's not just the fastest time you do in one of those 4 segments. You've got to get 2 fastest times. Your fastest time from 2 of the 4 segments will be added together to give your grid position for the sprint race on Sunday. So it's no good doing one quick time and then sitting out the rest of qualifying. It won't be enough. Team Australia still fastest. Let me tell you that Team New Zealand has just gone second fastest. So the 2 great rivals from down under, Australia and New Zealand, first and second. But Team Ireland, Michael Devaney, that's an outstanding job. He's gone third. So Michael Devaney has come up to third. And for Ireland, that's a real surprise.
Yes, and he's ahead of the more favoured, maybe Italian team of Enrico Toccacello, who has got Formula 1 experience as well as GP2 and Formula 3000. So good drive from Michael Devaney, 20 years of age.
Yep, maybe a star of the future, and there's a real contrast between the different drivers that we're seeing in this championship. Some are young, hungry stars of the future trying to make their mark on motor racing. Others have already made their mark to a certain extent.
Well, a good job from Team China with Tung Yi-Zhang, because he's actually ahead of Team Russia. That car driven today by Alexei Vasiliev.
Now, this is one to watch here, John, because it's the man who set the pace this morning. For Team France, it's Alexandre Premat. It's a very strong driver lineup. They've got 2 quick drivers. Both of them have been racing in the GP2 category in 2005. Both have been front runners in that series. Now, what's he going to do? Will he beat the Australian time? 1:16.056 is the time to beat. He's coming out of the final corner. Is this going to be a fastest time for France? Across the line he goes, and in fact,
he's just commencing. He was down to his outlap. He's now going across. He's coming up behind Robbie Kerr, Team GB. Robbie Kerr will have seen Team France. He'll be aware. Robbie on an outlap as well. Gets out of the way on the exit of Druid Hairpin, dropped down Graham Hill into Graham Hill Bend. So Alexandre Premat has escaped what he thought. Am I going to have a problem getting past Team GB? Robbie Kerr played fair and let him go through cleanly.
So crucial that he gets out of this left-hander as quickly as possible, up the hill and down Pilgrim's Drop towards Hawthorns. Now this is the fastest section of the track, up to about 160 miles an hour before just heading into the right-hander at Hawthorns, and now towards Westfield, where we saw Sean McIntosh spin in the Canadian car earlier on. There's a neat and tidy line there for Team France, and Alexandre Premat is looking good. Can he repeat the performance of earlier today?
We've not seen a fastest sector time in that first sector from Team France. We haven't seen a fastest sector time in Sector 2 from Team France. Can he put it out in the final sector? But
well, we're about to find out. He really is coming round on his quick lap this time. He looked quick on the second half. They obviously need to go quickly on these tyres to bring them in, even on the outlap. Here we go, across the line, and it puts Team France, let's have a look there, quite low down in 9th place. That's a real surprise.
Very disappointing indeed. I mean, compared to what we saw in this morning's session when they were quickest on a 1:15.4, to be so much off the pace compared to what you were doing 1:17.278.
But John, do you think they didn't perhaps use a new set of tyres for this first segment?
I think the teams could be doing anything. They've got the choice of using a used tyre in this first run, simply to get a feel of the track. It's been some 2 hours since they were on track earlier this morning. Maybe.
Well, let's see what everyone else is up to now, because Robbie Kerr is on circuit, and we're going to see how Team GB gets on in this one. And he's gone through the first sector. 26.004, that's smart 5, I think, yeah, 25.004. Pretty quick, but I'm not sure if it's going to be fast enough.
Again, traffic, look, Robbie Kerr got one car certainly ahead of him as he comes down Dingle Dell.
Into the left-hander now at Stirling. Australia still the pace setters, and he gets it sideways. That's what you get when you don't have any traction control. The back wheel over the curve on the exit of Stirling's, and he throws it into Stirling's. It's a clear way. It's a fantastic effort from Robbie Kerr, but well, he's trying hard, there's no doubt about it. And Team GB with Robbie Kerr at the wheel.
Yes, they go third quickest. In fact, just as they came into clearways, he caught up to Alexandre Premat in the Team France car, and that may well have hindered the time that he was going to be capable of.
We have a new fastest time, and Brazil has taken the top time. Team Brazil has taken the fastest time now. We're watching Robbie, and he's still going for it, even though he's on his inlet at the moment.
Well, I think that's fairly normal. You want to go in, bring your car in as quickly as possible. As we now look at the man who's just taken provisional pole in this first session, that is Nelson Piquet Jr., Team Brazil, 1 minute 15.824, just over 0.2 of a second quicker than Team Australia.
So it's Brazil, Australia, New Zealand now third, Great Britain fourth, Team Ireland fifth, ahead of Italy, Germany, Japan in eighth, Pakistan in an excellent ninth place, ahead of Portugal in 10th place, and in 11th it's France, a bit of a surprise down there, with South Africa 12th, Mexico 13th, Switzerland, India, the Czech Republic, then Malaysia 17th, Lebanon 18th, Austria 19th, Indonesia in 20th place, followed by China and Russia.
So just a minute remaining in this the first of 4 15-minute sessions. Nelson Piquet comes back into the pits, and he'll be pleased with that. We didn't get to see that lap in its full enjoyment. So into the pits goes Piquet. Jos Verstappen has got 54 seconds. And there we see the fans, the Dutch fans, almost went out at the last possible moment to try and ensure he got a clear track, and that's part of the strategy that some of these teams are going to put into place. Jos Verstappen, 40 seconds now to get across start-finish line before the checkered flag comes out. He'll do that with 20 seconds to spare.
Yes, well, he's on a quick lap here, I think, anyway. Let's just see what this time is going to be for Jos Verstappen as he comes across the line, and the Netherlands goes 6th fastest, so that was his quick lap. He goes 6th fastest. It's Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, Great Britain, and then Ireland. A real surprise. Team Ireland 5th, ahead of Team Netherlands. Well, Michael Devaney, John, is faster than Jos Verstappen.
Well, I think that's very impressive indeed, and I'm quite certain if Jos Verstappen just getting it a little bit sideways on the Graham Hill bench, but I'm sure if the Irish fans aren't going to be here on Sunday, they'll be coming down now. If Michael can continue that sort of form through the next 3 sessions, he's got to take the best time out of 2 of the 4 sessions. So, great start for Team Ireland.
So, let's just explain. The first 15-minute segment has come to a conclusion. Every country, I think, has managed to put in a flying lap. We didn't actually see Austria out. Oh, yes, we did. They were 20th in the end. So, everyone has had an opportunity to set one flying lap. They've done that, and Brazil have ended up fastest. So Team Brazil, Nelson Piquet Jr., fastest so far from Australia with willpower. Matt Halliday doing another fantastic job for Team New Zealand in 3rd place. Robbie Kerr for Team Great Britain in 4th. Team Ireland, the surprise, in 5th for Michael Devaney. And then it's Jos Verstappen for the Netherlands, Enrico Tocacello for Italy, and then Timo Scheider for Germany, Japan, and Ryu Fukuda and Pakistan finishing out the top 10 for Adam Khan.
So the first of 4 qualifying sessions now completed. More reaction after the break from Brands Hatch. Welcome back to Brands Hatch. These are the scenes this afternoon. Well, the first of 4 qualifying sessions has now been completed, and plenty of talking points. Andy Priot is with me in the studio, and Andy, let's talk about Team GB first of all, and Robbie Kerr's impressive effort because he went 4th quickest.
Yeah, very impressed with Robbie's performance, but I did see he ran wide on the exit of Graham Hill, and that cost him a lot of time. We're also seeing a lot of guys struggling with, new tyres here, getting them up to temperature. I think Robbie's still got a bit more to come, so he did make a mistake.
Let's take a look and just take us through this lap, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Robbie was very, very quick around the back part of the circuit here into Hawthorne. He did seem to have quite a nervous rear. The car tended to run a little bit wide, but I found that noticeably what I saw most of all with Robbie was I felt he was struggling to get his tyres up to temperature. Here we are with some in-car footage, and I think that he was struggling through Dingle Dell. I don't think it was ideally the best lap from Robbie. I'd say he has got more to come. He ran wide on the exit of Graham Hill. It cost him a lot of time, I would say 3 or 4 tenths, and also a bit of traffic as well there, which does put you off.
You mentioned the traffic. Is it all about good timing in this qualifying session?
Yeah, absolutely. Timing's crucial. You've got to get a clear lap. You don't want anybody to damage your lap. We're in car with Robbie now. He's coming into paddock. He's braking from 250 k's and turning the car in. The car looks a little bit nervous on the way in there. Very, very good on the exit, and on the entry to Druids there, the car looked tidy, but big oversteer on the exit, which I would say, looking at tyre temperatures, here we're going into Graham Hill, and you can see he's getting on the power too early, ran out of road and had to lift off the throttle. That cost him dearly.
He is, however, fourth quickest. Let's cross back to the track because the second qualifying session is now underway. Back to our commentary duo of John Watson and Ben Edwards.
Across the line goes the Team Lebanon entry, and well, let's see how Khalil Beshir gets on. The 23-year-old who's been racing in the Italian Formula 3000 Championship this year. This team is being run by one of the most successful teams in the British national motorsport in recent years, the Carlin Motorsport team. Trevor Carlin, team boss, looking after several countries' entries, in fact, in the championship, doing the engineering side of things for Team Lebanon, for Portugal and for Japan as well. So this car will be right on the money in terms of setup, and it's up to Khalil Beshir to extract the most of it in this qualifying session.
Well, in this session we're seeing personal best as well as quickest in various sectors coming from all over the world, and still waiting to see once again the teams that we're looking to, be it Brazil, France, USA, even Ireland are amongst those top 5 teams.
Yes, the Lebanon currently 20th fastest after the first session. Now remember, as soon as anybody does a second flying lap, they will go as provisional fastest, because you need 2 times added together to give your aggregate time that will count towards the grid. So whoever sets the flying lap first will go into provisional pole. It looks as though it is going to be the Lebanese team cross the line, and Mexico just ahead of it actually. So Mexico leaping up to the top of the table as the first team to complete a second flying lap. And that was a good lap from Salvador Duran for Team Mexico, who has just crossed the line at 1:16.2. The Lebanon entry now just slowing down. We haven't seen the time come through just yet for his car. So he continues round on a bit of a slowing lap, but there's quite a few more cars beginning to appear on circuit now. Out on track we've got Indonesia, as we mentioned. We've also got Australia, and Team Australia have now completed their second time lap, and they have gone provisional pole.
Yes, Will Power doing a very good job clearly for Team Australia, regaining that provisional pole time he had up until the end of that first session when he was pipped by Nelson Piquet Jr. and Team Brazil. So Australia back on top, a lap of 1 minute 16.3. That's fractionally slower than he achieved in his first run by about 2.5 tenths of a second. Japan now in second place, Japan third, Mexico fourth, India fifth, and the Lebanon in sixth.
Yes, so some of the countries getting a very quick run in this second segment, getting out there very quickly. And as you say, Japan has gone third. Interestingly, Pakistan, with their second lap time in the bag now, remain ahead of India, and they've got Japan and Mexico between them. Lebanon and Indonesia are the other countries that have already run for their second lap in this entire qualifying session. So we're into the second 15-minute segment now. Remember, the 2 fastest times added together, and we've had 7 countries now complete their second time lap in this session. There's Germany just coming out as Team Mexico is pushed in.
Interestingly, Australia, which tops the list, actually had a slower second session than Pakistan, Japan, Mexico, India and the Lebanon, all of whom improved on their second run.
So Team Australia, their second lap was a 1:16.3, 3/10 of a second slower than their lap that they achieved in the first segment. And Khalil Beshir back in for Team Lebanon now. Done a good job. A 1:18.6 on his first segment, 1:18.4, so he is improving. Alex Young in the Team Malaysia entry here, another former Grand Prix driver, of course, bringing his experience of racing all over the world in Grand Prix, and he's also raced in the Champ Car Series. He raced around the Brands Hatch Indy circuit in a Champ Car in 2003. Well, he's out there on the Grand Prix loop at the moment, seeing what he can achieve.
21st, so we're waiting to see whether he can see any significant improvements. We once again look into the Australia box. Will Power, he'll be very happy with that, though not necessarily that is 2.5 tenths of a second slower, but sufficient right now. It depends whether those that are behind will make significant improvements as Team Malaysia comes across the start-finish line. Alex Young.
Yeah, he did a 1:18.5 in the first segment of qualifying. He's got to improve that, and I would think he's capable of it. He put in quite a good lap in the Friday morning practice session. He was 5th fastest on Friday morning with a 1:17.5, so he's certainly capable of more. Maybe he was on old tyres in that first segment. Now let's just watch him down here, in towards 30, watch for the back end wiggling around on the exit.
And also watch for the curve and the exit. That curve again, if you run it too wide, can flick the back of the car out. It would be a spin. That would be the best result you could get.
Up towards Hawthorns now. This is a fast corner. Turns in, keeps the car on a nice smooth trajectory, and up towards Westfield. You can see the resurfaced layout here. Slightly darker area of tarmac. Dips down the hill onto old tarmac, back onto new tarmac as he comes through Sheen Curve. That's a quick corner nowadays.
Yeah, big commitment coming through Dinglesdale. Let the car run way wide out before he cut back to go through Sheen Curve. Then edges through Stirling, stays off the curve. Sometimes you can use curve to your advantage. The curves here at Brands Hatch not always as user-friendly as we will see further in the series.
Here he comes then. Where will this put Team Malaysia? Australia fastest at the moment. Team Malaysia, we wait to see where it pops them into 6th place. 6th position for Team Malaysia. Alex Young has improved their position, but remember there are a number of countries yet to have their second run.
And that improvement was by over 2 seconds a lap, so substantial time to come from Team Malaysia in 6th place. We've still got Team Australia at the top of the chart, Pakistan, Japan 2nd and 3rd, Portugal, Mexico and Malaysia running out the top 6.
Interestingly enough, the fastest driver in this session in terms of this particular second segment was the Mexican, Salvador Duran. So Salvador Duran putting in a very good second qualifying effort. Let's look at the Italian now, Enrico Toccatello. They were pretty quick in the first session on a 1:16.8. Now let's see whether they can improve. By the way, the colours are not quite their national colours because Italy was so late getting this project together they just didn't get a chance.
Toccatello comes across start finish line. Just to let you know that New Zealand have now leapt to the top. Australia are 2nd, Italy 3rd, Ireland was 2nd. They've now dropped down to 4th place. So the times are 16:3 for New Zealand. That was the first session. Overall, it's New Zealand, Australia, Italy, Ireland, Pakistan in 5th place. Japan rounds out the top 6.
That is a great lap as well, John, from New Zealand, a 1:16.032. That was just about as quick as Australia were in the first segment, but not quite as quick as Brazil set in that first segment.
So Matt Halliday is doing a very strong job. He did incur the wrath of the stewards this morning when on his quickest lap he did apparently do it on a yellow flag, and that is not allowed. Making up for that little error, maybe just didn't see the flags or pick it up as quickly as he ought to.
The all-black New Zealand car, so showing great form here at Brands Hatch, no doubt about it, they're consistently fast. And the spectators on the inside of that Sheen Curve, great spot to watch. There's some real commitment and speed on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, which is looking absolutely fantastic this weekend. Motorsport Vision, the owners that took this track over only 18 months ago, and they've got the place looking absolutely superb here today. New Zealand then fastest overall, but remember, we've still got to see Brazil make their second attempt.
Well, Nielsen Piquet Jr. are about to come out. We've just got a little over 5 minutes as Scott Speed comes out of Clearways through Clark Curve, and this is about to commence his second qualifying lap of the second 2 sessions that we have so far had. Scott Speed, one of the, in a sense, pre-race favourites. In fact, Scott Speed completed his lap, and the USA are in 11th place, 1 minute 17.638. That is not the time, well, the times that we saw from Scott Speed on Friday. We're not seeing anything like that this afternoon.
No, I don't know what's going on here, but it's a real surprise to see
that's
Team
why
USA
they got
down
a big
there.
fistful of oversteer coming through Hawthorns.
Well, maybe that, on the curve as well.
The time's been lost. The car in the middle of the corner, you could see him putting lock on the car steering away from the curve, and the car drifted wide, and that certainly took away the best part of a second of his lap. So disappointment for Scott Speed. He's now got 2 sessions remaining where he can drag himself up from his current 12th place to get up to the part of the grid he expected to be on after 4 sessions.
His aggregate time, remember, that you see flash up on the screen is the combination of his 2 fastest laps. Interesting to see Jonathan Palmer in the New Zealand pit there. Of course, the team manager, Dick Bennett, of the engineering setup, WSR, that's looking after that car, ran Jonathan Palmer to the British F3 title. some many years ago, and Jonathan Palmer now, the man who heads up the operation here at Brands Hatch, looks after the track, runs the place, and is so delighted to see A1 Grand Prix making its debut here this weekend.
Indeed, we see Team Canada and Sean McIntosh being pushed back into their garage. Again, great promise through the practice sessions from the young Canadian, but not coming through in these two qualifying sessions right now. Currently 19th place.
So, Team New Zealand looking good. We're waiting for Brazil, Great Britain, Team Holland and Team South Africa to make their second runs. So, who is going to be first to go of those?
Just over 3 minutes remaining. They've got to get out with little over a minute and a half to ensure that they can get around the circuit and get back across the line before checkered flag comes out to get that one flying lap. Robbie Kerr for Team GB has decided 3 minutes exactly remaining is the time for him to go out on track. Track is relatively empty. PK Jr. coming down for Team Brazil, likewise on track, coming out of clearways, about to commence his second single qualifying lap.
Can Brazil reclaim the top spot in qualifying here for the A1GP race into Paddock Hill Bend? On the power as he comes down the hill, back up into Druids.
Sweet as a Brazil nut, I would say.
Looking good, looking tidy, isn't he, John? Much more neat and tidy than some of the cars, but those wheels still working hard. He's still having to correct the oversteer.
Well, he is a quality driver. He's got the genes through his father. He's got all the, if you like, backup support, mental, the physical support that is necessary to go in to competing in a championship like this. So PK Jr. comes down, drops down Pilgrim's Drop into the compression at the bottom, then into Hawthorne. This very quick entry, mid-corner we saw car run wide, lose so much time. Emerson Fittipaldi, two-time Brazilian world champion, stands on the pit wall. He will be at every round of this 12 race series.
Well, Nelson Piquet Sr., his father, took pole position for the last Grand Prix, the last Formula One Grand Prix that was held here at Brands Hatch back in 1986. Can Junior do the business in A1GP? Well, we're about to find out. He's heading down underneath the bridge. He comes into clearways, chucks it in, off-camber exit here. He can't run too wide. That was beautiful from Nelson Piquet Jr. Is this going to be enough for Brazil to reclaim the top spot? Across the line he goes. Wait for the times to come through, and is it going to be enough? Just waiting for it to come through a little bit. And yes, it is enough. It's a 16-0, and Brazil take the top spot back.
Yes, and that's a little bit of fun on the exit of Druids, but the lap that Nelson Piquet Jr. has just completed was an ideal lap. There didn't appear to be anywhere on the lap that was wasted. It was economic, it was clean, it was efficient, and that's what you have to do. You've got to do it 4 times to get the best 2 times to ultimately end up with your aggregate lap time for your grid position.
So, a very impressive run so far for Brazil, for Nelson Piquet Jr. There are still 2 qualifying segments to go. We're only 45 seconds away from the checkered flag on this one.
Well, Jos Verstappen has gone out, and we're waiting to see where Team Holland will place itself. So 2 cars yet to complete the lap. Jos Verstappen, Team Holland. He's going to have to get a bit of a shift on. There's only 30 seconds remaining here.
Yeah, he's actually, I think he has done his lap actually in the Netherlands. He's 14th now. So this is Robbie Kerr, who I think is going to be the last of the front runners to really put a lap in here. And we'll see whether Team GB can move up the order. He goes 4th. He goes 4th fastest for Team Great Britain. It's Brazil, New Zealand, Australia, Great Britain, Italy and Ireland in the top 6.
And the aggregate time so far, we've got Team Brazil on a 2:31. Then New Zealand 2:32, Australia 2:32, Great Britain 2:32, Italy 2:33, Ireland 2:33, France 2:33, Pakistan, impressive, 2:33, 2 minutes 33 seconds.
Yeah, so 8th place for Pakistan, 9th place for Japan, Germany in 10th, Portugal 11th, then it's Mexico, South Africa, Team Switzerland, the Netherlands down in 15th place. Not a quick lap from Jos Verstappen as this second qualifying segment comes to its conclusion. Malaysia 16th, USA down in 17th, and I really don't know what's going on there. The Czech Republic in 18th ahead of India, the Lebanon in 20th position, and then the last 5 positions: Indonesia, Austria, Canada, China and Russia.
So just 2 more sessions to go, with the second session now wrapped up. We're back with reaction and more qualifying next. Welcome back to Brands Hatch. 2 down, 2 more to go. Qualifying session 3 just minutes away now. Let's talk first, though, about qualifying session 2, because Brazil and Nelson Piquet Jr. impressive again, Andy.
Absolutely. Nelson Piquet Jr. doing a great job. Quick over both sessions. Not improving his time. In fact, Robbie Kerr was the quickest of that second session, which was very impressive. I still think Robbie's got more to come. Also looking at the Irish driver there, he's done a beautiful job today. The Ireland team have obviously put together a very good car, and he's also looking very, very dangerous today. I think he's going to be fast. So very impressive effort from Nelson Piquet Jr. And obviously 2 more sessions to go, so we're going to see a big chop and change.
Well, session 3 just about to get underway as the first of the cars are leaving their pit garages. Let's get back to John Watson and Ben Edwards.
First of all, yet again. So the Australian car currently third, quicker than like a good.
Well, they're taking it very slowly there indeed. That's Salvador Duran in the Team Mexico entry. I think I don't know whether he's looking for space or a gap or what he's doing. Now he gets on with it.
I suspect what he was doing was the car that went out just ahead of him. He wanted to give it a little bit more gap before he then would start his preparation lap prior for the single qualifying lap. And obviously what he doesn't want to do is overrun a car if he happens to find it in a critical part of the circuit. Nelson Piquet Jr. climbs back into the provisional pole sitters car, Team Brazil. Nelson Piquet Jr. must feel quite comfortable at this moment.
Yes, I'm sure he is. The team looking after the Brazilian entries, a French team, ASM, that have run cars in the Formula 3 Euro Series. Here we go then, on Team Australia, straight on with it, and onto their flying lap. This is Will Power at the wheel. Wonderful name for a racing car, isn't it? Will Power. But it works, he's quick, and let's see whether Australia can reclaim the top spot.
And he got a big slide as he came down Padicle Bend. You had to get a bit of opposite lock on. It didn't really probably affect the lap time very much. Nevertheless, it indicates just the marginal levels of grip that are being generated, particularly on the start of that flying lap. You've got to go out on this sighting lap and really push hard to get and maintain the temperatures that you've generated through the tyre warmers before you leave the pits.
Well, as we mentioned, Alan Jones is team principal for Team Australia, and he won here at Brands Hatch back in 1980, knows the track pretty well. But I'm sure he's just let Will get on with the programme. He was quick in the dry session yesterday. He's looking fast again here.
Yeah, good exit. Got it absolutely right on the exit of Hawthorns now. Drops down through Dinglesdale. Keep an eye as we come up into this sheen curve. The second sector time should be coming up. Currently, we're seeing Will Power is quickest in that first sector. Or exits, he's quickest in that second sector. So this should be an improvement in overall time. And of course it will put him to the top once again of the timing and scoring sheets.
So here we go. This is his third flying lap. If it's quicker than one of his others, he will then drop the slowest time. And Australia goes to the top. And it's the fastest time in qualifying. It's a 1:15.77 on the single lap. It gets added to the 1:16.0 he did in the first segment, and that means that Australia are now on top. There's Alan Docking, team manager, and he'll be pleased with that.
And that's thrown down the gauntlet big time to Brazil and New Zealand. Those are the two other teams that have been challenging for the front row of the grid. So Will Power going out at the very start of the session. Superb lap, 1 minute 15.774, and in provisional pole position.
So Australia are very quick to establish their lap times here in this third session. Now, we've also seen some completed laps. And Team Mexico, Salvador Duran has run wide.
Doesn't matter, he's actually completed his lap. So they've done a 1:16.2. Mexico are up to 5th place. That was coming through Padicle Bend, having done his one flying lap. So why he went off, well, we'll have to ask him after.
Might have been trying to move out of the way of somebody. If you get offline at Padicle Bend, then it can be a quick route into the gravel trap. But Mexico have gone 5th fastest. Oh, he went very wide in.
Well, he must have. There's no reason to be out in that part of the track. Whether he was looking down at the timing and scoring, and look at the way the car over the gravel bounces. Maybe he just looked down at the steering wheel and missed the entry into Padicle Bend, which is something you do not want to do. It is a big-time corner.
Well, he did well to get it back out of the gravel, and Salvador Duran is able to therefore make his way back to the pits again. Team China on the inside of Team Pakistan there. Pakistan keeping well out of the way. Adam Khan, I think, has already done his lap. Yes, he's done his flying lap in this session, so he's quite happy to move offline.
And Adam Khan, I have to say, has done a really good job. He's currently 6th now. He's not likely to stay there because some of the other players who are quicker than him over the previous 2 sessions have yet to come out. But that's a very strong showing from Team Pakistan.
Lovely story about Adam as well. He's been racing for a few years now, but he doesn't actually have a road driving licence here in the UK, where he's spent all of his life, and yet although he races in a 550 horsepower single-seater racing car, he doesn't have a licence to drive on the road. Who would want to be his driving instructor when he does start to learn?
Well, we're watching Team China on the previous 2 sessions. They've picked up time. It was a 1 minute 20 in the first session, 1:19 in the second. Let's see what he does on the third. And the time, we're still waiting for that session to come up. So,
yep, Team China, they just going on to his quick lap perhaps there. We've got the 2 times that he set earlier on, which but still keep him ahead of Team Russia. So it's a good effort, considering their lack of experience. It's a very good effort indeed. But Australia currently the fastest here in qualifying. We're in session 3, segment 3 of qualifying. There'll be one more 15-minute segment after this, and then we'll see the true picture. Who will start from pole position for the first ever A1GP race?
well, Brazil, New Zealand, Great Britain have yet to go out, but also some of the surprises, Ireland in particular. France, no surprise, they've yet to go out. Italy sitting in the pits. In fact, probably less than half the field has taken to the track. Well, in fact, now we're just looking at Team Italy with Tocacella, and he's made his way around. Team China, Tung Yi Zhang,
very good
man, and that's my best Chinese I can do at the minute,
John.
In his third qualifying lap of the afternoon.
Yes, and a vast difference in experience between the driver driving for Team Italy and the driver in the Chinese car. Toccacello has been third driver for Minardi in the last couple of Grand Prix, so he's been doing some of the Friday running for the Minardi team. Now Italy starting their flying lap as we see a third time coming up for China here. Oh, there was a bit of tyre smoke going in. I think Toccacello must have locked up ahead of him. A 1:19.8 there for Tung Yi Jiang, and that's not quite as quick as his second time, but it was faster than his first one.
Yes, but I think what happened was that Toccacello was on his out lap while China were doing their flying lap, and Toccacello was quicker on his out lap than I think that Tung Yi Zhang for China was on his flying lap, right? I think he backed off and let the Italian team car go through.
Now here's a critical one. It's the All Black, it's the New Zealand car, and remember they've been right up there in all of the sessions that we've seen so far. They're currently third fastest with a 1 minute 16.3 in the first segment, a 1:16.0 in the second segment. Now, can he get in the 1:15s? That's the aim, because that's what we've seen both Robbie Kerr and Nelson Piquet do for Team GB and Team Brazil respectively.
Well, Matt Halliday is saying that he's never been to the racetrack. He feels he's on a bit of a back foot because many of the competitors have got the advantage of having raced here in the lower formula, but he's done an outstanding job. And actually in that interview we saw with Lee McKenzie, he reminded me very much of the late great Denny Hall, just the physical look of the man and basically the attitude, I'm here to be a racer, there's nobody better than me, I'm going to go out and beat everybody here. And well, he's been pretty impressive.
Let's see if this one's impressive as well, John. Out of clearways he comes, runs out to the white line, tucks into the pit wall to complete the lap, and New Zealand have set their third, and they go fastest. New Zealand have gone, and it's at 1 minute 15.3. That is the outstanding lap of the qualifying session so far, and it's from Matt Halliday for Team New Zealand.
Well, that is a superb lap. In fact, that is the quickest lap we've seen over the entire weekend, 1 minute 15.389. And Matt Halliday sort of in that interview said, yeah, I don't care who these people are. I'm Matt Halliday. I'm as good as anybody. He's got a car identical to the entire field, and he's done a superb job. Bob McMurray, of course, along with Dick Bennett of West Surrey Racing, they must be delighted indeed to see their young man doing a great job for first time here at Brands Hatch.
Well, that is a tremendous effort, and Dick Bennett's there with the sunglasses on. Look, he's still making notes, he's writing everything down. Everything's in so much detail as we just take a glance into what's going on in Team Australia's pit garage. They have been displaced by New Zealand. Well, who would have thought that, eh? Well, what a great rivalry between New Zealand and Australia we've got here. Brazil is now third, Great Britain is fourth.
Well, you got it in rugby, you got it to a lesser degree in cricket, you got it probably in a bit in sailing, but traditionally motor racing, well, you never saw it. But New Zealand quickest currently, Australia second, Brazil, who are preparing to go out. Nelson Piquet Jr. now is going to have to do a time somewhere in the middle, 1 minute 15s, if not marginally quicker, to consolidate that provisional pole he's had after the first two sessions. Great job, Team New Zealand. Well done, Matt Halliday.
And good timing as well. They found a clear lap in the middle of the session. We've still got 5 minutes to go in this session. It looks as though quite a few are going to wait till the end, but if they all wait till the end, they'll trip over each other.
Well, we've seen that happen in qualifying over many, many years when you had a 1 hour session. People would wait until the very end of the session, believing the track is going to be quicker, that they're going to get the best out of the track, the best out of the car, the driver's pumped up. But if you hit traffic, it doesn't matter. You're just going to be slow. Halliday found the gap. He went out and did a superb lap. Goes back into the pits in the knowledge that he has got it's just under half a second of an advantage over Team Australia, currently second.
Now, this is a team that we can expect to improve massively this time around, because their first segment time wasn't representative. They've really put in one quick lap so far, and they're now going on to do their second quick lap. They were a 1 minute 16.1 in segment 2. What can Alex Premat do now in this third session? This could be a quick one, John.
Yes, and he's coming off a high from a great European Formula 3 series. He's jumped into the A1 Grand Prix car, looks completely at ease, no problem, not being intimidated by the racetrack, not intimidated by 550 horsepower, big, slick 16-inch rear race wheels and tyres. Has he got the speed? He's right now down in 13th place. He's going to take a monster lap from the Frenchman to drag this Team France car up into the front 2 or 3 rows of the grid.
Yeah, but he's capable of it. He did a great lap in the last session. He was one of the fastest in that second segment. If he does a lap that's the same, it will move him up a huge amount. And I think we're going to see Alex Premat move up, right up, challenging the likes of New Zealand, Australia and Brazil.
And of course, remember that even whatever he might do in this sector, of this session, it still could be improved upon, because he only needs 2 good laps out of the 4 sessions. His first lap in the first session was a slow lap. His second one was very, very good. We wait to see now whether Premat can consolidate and maybe use second session and third session time to see an improvement. France.
Let's see where they've gone. Well, they've gone 4 fastest, so it's a good improvement. They now sit in behind New Zealand, Australia and Brazil, and they've just gone ahead of Great Britain. Robbie Kerr won't like that. He will want to be ahead of the French team. There's always great rivalry in any kind of sporting contest between France and Great Britain. France have just got a place ahead of Team GP. Mexico still in 6th place. Switzerland have come up to 7th now. Malaysia 8th. Pakistan 9th. And Italy in 10th.
Well, here he comes, the man who's dominated the first 2 sessions, Nelson Piquet Jr., Team Brazil. He's now got to find a lap time closer to that we have seen from him in other sessions. He's got to do something in the middle 1 minute 15s to consolidate that provisional pole position he's been enjoying over 2 sessions. Further on the field, Team Ireland, who were doing so well after 2 sessions. Look at that slide, oversteer, power slide. We didn't see smoke off the tyre, but we saw just about everything else.
That was a wonderful slide there from Nelson Piquet Jr. for Team Brazil. Brazil have been pushed back into 3rd position now by both New Zealand and Australia. But Piquet wants it back for the glory of his country. That's what it's all about. It's not just about him. It's about Brazil, and what a great heritage Brazil has in motorsport.
And I tell you, he is right on the edge of grip. He ran very wide in Dingle-Dell Dip, almost touched the grass as he went out to the left, and drew the car back over the rumble strips as he went through Sheen Curve, maximising the grip, maximising, look at that, again, right out to the edge of the track, out of clearways, coming through Clark Curve.
Wonderful stuff from Piquet. Is it going to be enough for Brazil? Goes fastest, and it's a 1:14.965. He's the first man beneath the 1:15-second barrier. Nelson Piquet Jr. takes provisional pole for Brazil.
And the bit of Macumba going on in the Brazil team right now. That time, 1 minute 14.65, 9.65 is a stunning time. Quickest of everybody throughout the weekend. Well, Emerson, look, he's happy. He is delighted.
Emerson Fittipaldi, winner here of the British Grand Prix back in 1972 when he was driving for Lotus, one of his 2 World Championship winning years, and now overseeing the efforts here of Nelson Piquet Jr. That was a great lap, the best lap we've seen, and we enjoyed it, John, didn't we? We could see that car sliding.
You could see the amount of energy through the car. I mean, Piquet drove a naturally perfect lap. You couldn't say there was somewhere that he lost a margin of time. There you see it once again going through as he comes into the pits, using the curb, going through Sheen Curve. it really is just a question of can he shave another few tenths off that time and consolidate his time. So right now Nelson Piquet would be looking to take session 1 with a 1 minute 15.8 and session 2 with a 1 minute 14.9 as the 2 laps that he would look to put himself on that provisional. But look at that. When did you last see a racing car oversteer under power like that?
That was a beautiful moment because it was all under control. He lost no time through it, but you could see a real drift, a real slide on the whole car. A beautiful shot there of Piquet at full flight. Let me tell you that Team Great Britain, their third time in that segment was no quicker than their previous best, but it did improve their total time a little bit, but they now lie fourth. So let's just run through the order. It's Team Brazil, thanks to Nelson Piquet Jr. in provisional pole position. New Zealand second, Australia third, Great Britain fourth. They did get back ahead of France though. So in that little private battle between Team GB and Team France, it's Team GB in fourth, France fifth, Mexico sixth, Switzerland seventh, Malaysia in eighth, Pakistan an excellent ninth ahead of Italy, Japan, South Africa in 12th, Germany 13th, the Netherlands, Jos Verstappen down in 14th. That's a surprise. I think we'll see an improvement from them in the final session. Team Ireland are now 15th, Portugal 16th, Indonesia 17th, the United States down in 18th, India in 19th, the Czech Republic is 20th, and then 21st we have Canada, followed by Lebanon, Austria, China and Russia.
So 3 qualifying sessions are completed. It could all come down to the final session. That and reaction is coming next. Final session at Brands Hatch is now just moments away. That's to come shortly. Let's talk first of all, though, about qualifying session 3, because the track seems to be getting faster, and Andy, so too the lap times.
Absolutely, you're seeing some great driving here. Nelson Piquet Jr. responding beautifully to pressure at the end and just pipping the pole position, fastest lap at the end there. Matt Halliday doing a fantastic job for New Zealand. Very impressive.
So this qualifying session just about to get underway. Let's go back to your commentary pair, John Watson and Ben Edwards for it.
Well, lots to look forward to in this final 15-minute session, and Brazil on top spot at the moment, but a lot of private battles to be won further down the order at the moment. Pakistan well ahead of its big rival India. The United States down in 18th position, which is a little bit of a shock to the system. Team Canada, though, further down. They're in 21st place. Germany and the Netherlands are virtually together, 13th and 14th, those two, and Team Ireland just behind them in 15th place, as we keep an eye here on Team Australia. Once again, their tactics are consistent. They're going out early.
So let's have a look at Will Power and see if he can consolidate the times that he's been doing. Can he get back onto the front row of the grid? He would dearly love to do so for no other reason to put it over New Zealand, the team, and a nation that there's great competition in all levels of sport around the world with Australia and New Zealand. A little bit of a bobble as he came through the edge of the clearways into Clark Curve, comes across start finish line to commence his final one qualifying lap out of 4 shots this afternoon.
Oh, he's thrown it into panic. He was a touch wide, but he held it well. Now, is this going to be as dramatic a lap as we saw from Nelson Piquet? He's tight and tidy into the hairpin, a bit of a power slide out of the hairpin there, but he kept it beautifully under control. Now out of Graham Hill, Ben.
I think he's overdriving. I think Will Power's just realising he's got to push very hard. He's on 3 corners, he's been marginal, and he's only had 3 corners to go through. Comes out of Sterling's understeer mid-corner as the car went out towards the curb. So I think, well, he's got a personal best in this sector, but that relates just to the times in this particular final session. So Will Power pushing absolutely as hard as he knows how to do, runs to the very edge of the curb coming out of Hawthorns, and then on the brakes, turns right, drops through Westfield and all the way down Dingledale.
So can Team Australia snatch back that second place, or even, I think first is a little bit out of reach, but you never know. If he put in a real mega lap here, maybe he could snatch pole position from Brazil. But it's he is pushing hard, you can see it. You get the evidence as the car bobbles and slides through the corners right out to the edge here. Where's he going to be? Australia about to cross the line. Will they improve on 3rd place? Wait for the, and it's 2nd. They've beaten New Zealand.
And it's a very, very good lap as well. The best lap we've seen of the 4 sessions so far. 1 minute 15.614. So willpower, a lap which I thought wasn't as neat, clean and tidy as we've seen from him in other of the session, still improves significantly and ends up currently second place. USA Scott Speed, they've got to do something massive to drag their team all the way up from 19th position, and that's an enormous ask of anybody. This is a man who's got his career mapped out. He's going to be probably one of 2 drivers that will be in Formula 1 next year in the really recently purchased Minardi Formula 1 team. But a performance, as we're seeing here this weekend, it's clearly not about ability, it's clearly something not working between driver and car and team. So Scott Speed threads his way into Surtees Bend. Doesn't look comfortable, doesn't look committed in the car.
No, I agree totally, John. He doesn't look confident. There's something not right at all in Team USA's campaign in qualifying, and they were so confident and bubbling after what they got done yesterday. They were so quick in that first free practice session, and there is definitely an issue that they have not sorted.
Well, he was quicker in that first practice session in the dry on Friday than he's been in any of the 3 sessions so far here in qualifying this afternoon.
Yes, well, hopefully we'll find out later what the problem is. We haven't been able to persuade any of the team members to come and talk to us as yet, so obviously they're all feeling a bit wound up about the situation, whatever it is. And as he comes around out of clearways this time, we'll see if it is any improvement. They are way down, of course, in 19th place, so anything would move them up the order a touch. Let's just see if that does bring them up. Waiting for it to come through on the computer. Still not registering that time as yet.
No, that time hasn't appeared, so we don't know what the final lap for Scott Speed, what that time was. It's still not on the computer screen, so we are assuming that there's going to be an improvement. He's still 19th in aggregate, so that's what's being shown on screen, and that's a huge disappointment for a man who's got a career path really almost confirmed for him for the indefinite future, to be in a situation where he's qualified, unless the time is significantly quicker, only 19th, all the way back on the 10th row of the grid.
Now on board with, well, not on board but watching, Team Malaysia's here, Alex Young, and he's on a hot lap at the moment. He's currently 10th overall. He's just behind Japan. Now can he gain that little bit? USA's time has just come in now, and well, they did move up a couple of places, but not by as many as they would have hoped, John.
No, it's not. It's disappointing, and the car just looked, or the driver didn't look confident. The car looked nervous. It was as if he couldn't turn the steering wheel, first of all, and he couldn't get on the throttle. And if you can't do either of those 2 things, there's no time available in the car. Then you contrast that with Matt Halliday in Team New Zealand, or Nelson Piquet in Team Brazil. There at ease and at one with their cars.
Yes, that's very true. Now Malaysia have completed their final run, and well, Alex Young will be hoping to see whether he can improve on what he did earlier on. Again, still just waiting for that time to come through. Currently, though, in 10th place. It's a good effort. That's a good start for Malaysia. I think they'll be fairly happy about that. If they stay where they are a few teams behind them still to put in their 4th and final run, and there are still 5.5 minutes to go in this final qualifying segment. Of 1:16.2 he put in that last segment. Hasn't improved his position, but it's still a good effort. Let's just take a look back at some of the onboard action. This was on board with Portugal, and Alvaro Parent was not impressed.
Well, I can understand why he's not impressed. That was the Czech Republic, and that was a driver either coming in or going out on a lap, and Parent clearly on a flying lap, and he's feeling aggrieved that his lap that he had hoped would bring Team Portugal, currently in 10th place, further up the grid. He's only done 3 runs, interestingly, of the 4 available. He didn't go out in that 3rd session. Nevertheless, there was a 1:16.1, but he feels, I'm sure, if that car had not been there, I could have maybe got myself onto the 3rd, maybe 4th row of the grid.
Now, here's a key moment as Matt Halliday brings the All Black car out onto track, and Piquet has stalled the car as he was expecting to come out at the same time.
And we've just got under 3 minutes of the session remaining. I hope it's something that's a problem. They put the tire blankets back over the back of the car. In fact, it's jacked up. They've just released the jack now, so I don't know whether there's an issue with gear change plug or clutch or something, but we go back to Team Netherlands, Holland, the Dutchman, Jos Verstappen, disappointingly all the way down in 17th place as he begins his final flying lap.
Yep, that's right, he's going for it now.
Yes, and it's a pretty big old mountain for Jos, ironically coming from the fattest country in Europe, to climb.
Well, he did a 1:16.4 in this 3rd session. Now, if he can do something similar. He could move up quite a few places here. Definitely, if he could repeat that, he will do something slightly better. He might be able to get into the top 10, and maybe even better, but there is some traffic around as well.
Yeah, you've got Neil Yarni and Team Switzerland just ahead of him, and whether that's an out lap for Yarni or whether it's an in lap, but certainly Jos Verstappen will be looking for some assistance when he comes down. Pilgrim's dropping down up into Hawthorne Bend. Well, that's been good driving from Yarni. He lets him go through without any problem whatsoever.
Verstappen looking quick, but not perhaps quite as committed as when we saw Piquet out in the Brazilian car. Piquet just looks so at one with his car, even though this is only the first race meeting. Of course, he has been racing regularly this year in GP2. He's also, as we've mentioned, raced F3 here. He did win the British F3 round of the championship here at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit back a couple of years ago in his first season in the British Championship, so he obviously loves the place. But here comes Verstappen. Are we going to see an improvement for Team Holland? They're in 17th place at the moment. He's got the supporters out there cheering him on. Still showing 17th, we're just waiting for the time to come up. He has improved. He's gone to 14th.
Yes, so Jos's fans will be delighted with that. They'll be disappointed overall, but nevertheless. But to contrast Verstappen's lap with Piquet Jr.'s lap, Piquet had just that rhythm and flow. It looked all in control. It was all positive.
But we must just tell you that France have gone second fastest. France have come out of virtually nowhere, and France is second. Australia now third, New Zealand fourth, Switzerland fifth. Great Britain have been pushed down to sixth. And it's France who now will be joining Brazil on the front row if things stay as they are. But Team GB will be definitely hoping to beat the time that France have just set. Robbie Kerr will have the pressure on him, and he's on a flying lap right now.
The one we've got to keep an eye on, as well as Robbie Kerr for Team GB, of course, is Matt Halliday for Team New Zealand, who currently is on, but he's coming up to complete his final qualifying lap as Robbie Kerr goes through Sheen Curve and into Stirling's Bend, and he's going to come up to complete a lap.
Out he comes.
New Zealand has gone second, ahead of France. Team New Zealand has regained that provisional front row grid position.
But what is Great Britain going to be able to do? They're down in 6th place right now. Robbie Kerr getting on the power. Will he improve on 6th position for Team GB? Across the line, the checkered flag comes out. It's the end of qualifying for the first ever A1 Grand Prix event here at Brands Hatch, and we're just waiting for that time to be confirmed here for Robbie Kerr for Team GB. Where are they going to start this race from? It looks as though it's going to be a third row position, unless he's done something very, very special on that last lap.
He did a 1:15.8.
Right, well that should improve his position. Let's just wait for the computer to do its sum. We're still waiting, but it's Brazil who will start from pole position for the first event. Still waiting for that Great Britain time to come through here, which is taking a little while. New Zealand in second, France in third, Team Australia. Great Britain have taken fifth position for Team GB.
Yes, and improving a good lap from Robbie Kerr, but of course it's not good enough to get him up to the front of the grid where we wanted to see him. Nevertheless, Nelson Piquet Jr. and Team Brazil did take the option of not running. They saw what the opposition was doing. They realised that they had too much of an advantage, so why race or run another set of tyres that you can use to your advantage come Sunday afternoon. There's father going along to say well done son, and well, a delighted Team Brazil. Emerson Fittipaldi in the background. Nelson Piquet Senior obviously delighted indeed that his son has done such a strong job. It's been a difficult year for him in GP2, but there delight on the face of father, and more restrained delight on the face of son.
Nelson Piquet Senior had pole position for the last Formula 1 Grand Prix to be held here at Brands Hatch, and it's his son, some 20 years later, 19 years later to be exact, who has taken pole position for the A1 Grand Prix race. What a story that is, and Brazil are on top in qualifying for the first event in the World Cup of Motorsport.
So with qualifying over, here's how they line up for tomorrow's sprint race. Brazil on pole with Nelson Piquet Jr. New Zealand second with Matt Halliday. Whole host of others in the chasing pack. Robbie Kerr starts fifth tomorrow. Slightly disappointed by that, but he'll look to make an impact tomorrow. Alex Young in ninth for Malaysia. Michael Devaney impressing today, but falling slightly off the pace towards the end of qualifying. He'll start in 12th. Jos Verstappen in 14th. For the Netherlands, perhaps not so impressive as he'd like. The USA in 17th with Scott Speed, who was impressive in practice yesterday, but not so impressive in qualifying. today, and those the last of them on the back of the grid. Those are the ones on the back of the grid. Let's hear from the ones at the top of the grid. Right now, they were speaking in a press conference a little earlier. New Zealand giant killers today, I think.
Yeah, maybe so, but hey, we've got a good team, and although I haven't driven probably in a year and a half in single-seater, it's no problem. The car's equal. It's more good opportunity to show what you can do.
Realistically, did you expect to be this high up?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we had a good test at Paul Ricard, and like I said, the team's working very well, and it's good for me to be driving in such a good team, and makes my job a little bit easier. The only difficult part this weekend was definitely the circuit, sharing with my teammate yesterday, and then never seen the circuit before. It made it, it's definitely not the easiest circuit in the world to learn, but everything's going well.
So I am not really happy because the car was completely different. So in the last one I did, I think, a good time, but in the first and second and third qualifying I was way slower than Nelson Piquet. And but we work a lot with my team to do a good setup for the last qualifying. But the car was better. But I think we need to work tonight to have a really good car for the race.
You obviously enjoyed the qualifying setup.
Yeah, for sure. For us drivers that we want to get to F1, it's in GP2 we don't have this kind of qualifying. So for us, it's very good training to be calm and to leave the pits and knowing you only have this lap and you need to do it and you have to do it at the right time. And for me, I loved it when I heard it was going to be like this, because it's all a bit similar to F1.
5th place, obviously Australia in front of it. You want to get in front of them. You got a sprint start, rolling start. How are you going to handle that?
It's going to be tight going into that first corner. The main thing is to stay out of trouble going through that first bend, and then we can see how the rest of the race we can attack. The main things are we've got a few things we've learnt through the qualifying, and we're going to apply them for the race.
Did you find yourself a little bit at sea for a moment or two, going down the wrong alley perhaps, to use another cliché analogy regarding how the car was set up for you?
We had to change it midway through, so we had to get used to the car. Unfortunately, on one set I made a mistake, and then 2 other times we caught traffic, which does affect us. But no, we've got to be happy where we are. We've got a good place to start from, and we can move forward.
Okay, you've got tyres, obviously, that your strategy has allowed you to keep some tyres for this. What about this boost button business? Have you got that worked out?
Oh, we have. I've used it in a series before, in Jonathan Palmer's series, so I've got a good idea of when to use it. But it's going to be tight still. It's not going to be easy to overtake with it. So we've just got to get alongside and then make them go the wide way around the corner. And very quickly, that rolling start, does that hold any ghosts for you? No, I'm looking forward to it. They've done well in the past with rolling starts, so really looking forward to that.
The sprint race tomorrow is determined by a rolling start. Everyone's pretty excited about that, but the sprint race is so important because it counts just as much as the feature race, doesn't it? And of course it determines those starting places for that feature race.
Absolutely. You've got to finish the sprint race in a good position. You've got still the same number of points up for grabs, and it's really crucial that they finish that first race, because if you don't finish the first race, you're at the back of the grid for the rolling start.
An exciting day in prospect. Andy, thanks for your thoughts today. Sunday, we're live from Brands for the first A1GP race of the season. All the action from 1 on Sky Sports 1. What a day it has been, in particular for Team Brazil, and in particular for a certain Brazilian, Nelson Piquet Jr. That's it from us for now. Goodbye.